How to save technology after all the good and the greatest that have been, there was a kind of firefight this morning. So in this presentation, I will just share with you some background, where we came from, what Trimble is up to when we talk about construction and technology, with a specific focus how we are bringing mixed reality to the field, across the continuum of the construction. So my name is Nassim Saoud, I'm architect by training, so I'm leading the consultancy group for the EMEA region. We joined Trimble through an acquisition back in 2014. So Trimble, probably some of you, so just a quick survey, who know Trimble, who heard about it before? Quite good, that's a positive score. So, so either some of you that don't know Trimble, but probably you know components from Trimble. So let's switch to the next slide, please. So Trimble is a large global technology company that are present in 35 countries, serving customers in plus 150 countries. Turnover last year was plus $3 billion, one of the fastest growths in, as a traded company in NASDAQ. So innovation is at the heart of what we are doing. Trimble is organized into 5 major franchises. We are serving the building industry, the infrastructure business, the geospatial, and agricultures and transport and logistics. So innovation is the heart, and I think these 2 figures are a great testimony about what Trimble is up to with all the patents, which is pure innovation brought to this industry, and around 15% of the annual revenue is injected every single year in terms of R&D. So Trimble is a company that has been founded. We celebrate the 40 years last year, 2018. Was founded by Charlie Trimble, a former engineer from HP, back in 1978, where he brought the GPS and tried to associate commercial use to it at the time. Today it sounds quite obvious. We have location even into our watches and phones. So at the time, so he bring the GPS and tried to develop a series of technologies. So this is probably one of the most recognized one, which is those tripods that you find on the side jobs. So we moved from the GPS to the positioning, and then there was like a fantastic portfolio of hardware technology, starting from this tripod to the drones. When we talk about this one, building up, raising up the capability of survey with photogrammetry and so on. And also there was like a fantastic portfolio of softwares. Some of them have been built in by Trimble, others have been acquired. For example, like SketchUp, we have a SketchUp Superman today with us, which is a technology developed initially by Google, but then it became a Trimble technology. But then we start just addressing different profiles on the construction business. One of the first communities that have been addressed was the surveyors, but then we start just developing specific tools and softwares for the designers, no matter we talk about architecture, structures, MEPs, and so on. And then after serving those community, we start just looking to the in-between, looking to the connectivity between design and construction, between sub-phases, between trades, and so on. That's what we call the integrated work processes. So we do believe about this ongoing digital transformation, and we believe that this transformation will be only more stable if it's positioned into 3 legs. One of them is the constructible. So today, the technology's weapons given to the designers allow to do like a mimic of what need to be constructed. So we are shifting from this paradigm of just building a bunch of documentation to describe a building to something that's high fidelity, one-to-one. This is what we call the constructible model. We do believe on the content, the fact that we could mobilize manufacturing details in the early stage, and today you see there's a big trend of accessing not only 3D component, but also the knowledge from industrial people that could be mobilized in the early design stage, and the connectivity, which is, I think, one of the key drivers that will help to reshape the construction business. This is an organization that I came from called Getty Technologies. Initially, it had been founded within the design side at Frank Gehry office in Los Angeles. So we've been working, bridging the digital and the physical world, first of all, between those physical models and the digital, with a very interesting combination of low-tech, high-tech. So I have pictures from the early 90s where we have model makers, and then we reshape, bringing it into the computers and try to mobilize other knowledge, such as mathematics, and then bringing it back. So I think this is probably what I found as like a driver between all the presentation I attended this morning, is trying to build this bidirectional link between the digital and the physical worlds. So that's what have been what we did within Frank and his project. And then we've been operating as the R&D group in the early 90s, but then we spin off and we constitute our consultancy and service group, and we start working with Frank ecosystem. So every project have a designers, a builders, and sub. And then we start also working in different geography, and we expand. And we've been honored that we get 3 times an international award about this BIM movement that you guys all know about it. And we are just getting one more step into our integration inside Trimble, and the Gate Technologies have been rebranded Trimble Consulting since last year. So we've been seeing a lot of great stuff moving on between those multi-realities. Reality is not only one, but it's multiple. So we do believe in each of them. The VR, which is a fully immersive experience. We are working on the AR side as well with partnership like the Tango project with Google. And today the main focus will be around mixed reality, which is the overlay one-to-one between physical and digital world. And this is another program that we are doing with Microsoft. So I found on the archive, so it's very interesting when we start naming innovations, and I don't know if we could just label it innovation if some stuff are already been developed by our predecessor, even on the previous centers. This is, if you could play the video, please. So this is our Kiwis friends on the news TVs. When I found like one of our colleagues. Oops. Okay.
A collection of New Zealand's weird and wonderful inventions is being showcased at an international event in Christchurch. Science ministers from APEC countries are meeting for a conference this week, and they'll get to see the best of Kiwi science and technology talent.
Oakley might look a little out of place. That's because he's entering a whole new world.
Augmented reality is a technology that enhances the user's view on the real world. It's a system that can overlay computer graphics in real time into the user's surroundings.
It uses software that's been co-developed by companies HitLab and Trimble.
This system's still in its development stages. They want to make it lighter, smaller, and cheaper. But to see more of this house, I need to put this on. It'll let me walk through the house, even look out the window at the real world.
You can see a house before it's built, so you can say, I'd like to add a new room. The prospective buyer can say, let's change the color. The road engineers can problem solve in the field. We have a native tree. We need to move that around.
So it's pretty cute to see this in the context of what have been showcased with Boston Robotics. But the testimony here, just to say, this is like some questions that have been addressed since many years. It's not just like something out of today. So as an architect, I'm not seeing this like it's a dream house. That's what technology should enable. But just show a little bit where these things came from. So this is a kind of very simplistic diagrams to explain what the construction is. And I think we could offset it to different typologies of project. If some things break, is always at the connection. And the construction industry is a very sequential industry, and there's way too many connections. So there is, from the design to the construction, generally there is a big shift, new teams show up, new consultants, and so on. So what we do believe that the data should be the vehicle that cross all those phases and subphases altogether. And we are trying to localize the XR into each of those 3 chapters within the design, within the construction, and within the facilities management and operation as well. I just put together a few examples of what we are doing on the real life with customers on projects applying the mixed reality. So number one, as a principles, we are working in what we call this democratization of 3D. 3D and BIM is not like something for specialists, for BIM managers, or highly skilled and sophisticated project audience. We do believe that these things need to land in everybody's pocket, from a worker to executives with no distinction. We do believe that today technology is mature enough to arrive to this overlay, one-to-one scale between what have been designed and what need to be built. And what we are addressing is what I call the key processes. No matter you could put a house or a fancy towers in Dubai or an airport or whatever, so all those projects are driven by processes like the design review, the design coordination, construction sequencing, comparison between planned and actuals. So we associate the mixed reality to those key processes, and we found partners, clients, just to work with them to reshape and re-engineer those key processes. Next, please. So definitely there is a wow factors when we adopt those new technology. But these wow factors just get out after a few seconds. It's not even a few minutes. So what we try to find is people that are addressing a specific process or workflow and work with them to project the mixed reality technology within their existing practice. So we have examples that are going to walk you through, done with designers, done with engineers, with fabricators on construction site. And our role as Great Technology is working side by side with the Trimble folk. Since we've been, we always had this mixed blood, having people, engineers, architects, computer scientists. We've always been working this system integration. And we've been working side by side with the MRP team to develop also custom tools in the top of the existing technologies. So let's just walk through them, and I just put a few seconds video just to illustrate how we are bringing XR. Next, please. So there's something that is quite fascinating. So 3D have been for many years today for our industry, but there was mainly one way to consume it is within a flat 2D, no matter like the screen of your laptops or like a video projection and so on. We always had like a flat conception of the 3D. So today we do believe that we could have like another experience within what have been shaped and designed in a 3D environment. So we developed this partnership back in 2015, and I do believe back, like starting 2016, there was the first apps available on the Windows Store, extension with SketchUp, which is like a large communities of users that you could start enjoying your 3D right away. So let's just, next, please. So there was a great use of XR back in 2016. We've been working with Greg Lynn Architects. That was, he was selected to be the voice of the US at the Venice Biennale. So next video, please. Sorry, classic when you talk technology, all the projection. Okay. So this is a pictures from our convention in Las Vegas where there was 5,000 people witnessing Greg Lynn explaining and exposing his project. And there's a next video just explaining. Okay, let's play the video, please.
So we built a model, but we used HoloLens to get us inside some of those spaces. I didn't know how big our site was compared to corporate headquarters or museums. With Trimble Connect, I can look up and grab different buildings to compare. We could just pull a model and duplicate it and see that it would take 12 Tate Moderns to fill the site. That brought it to life in terms of use. Microsoft HoloLens lets us get inside stuff earlier and experience it, and I can look up and see the volume that I'm in and start to make decisions about how to design it. Without a HoloLens, I would have been making those decisions 3-4 months from now. But with the HoloLens, I'm making those decisions at the moment of inception.
So architects are always given two major inputs, like an existing condition, a site, a location, and also a program. This one was very interesting. This project is in Detroit. You know, Detroit has like a fantastic car business, but back on the 50s, these things dropped down. This project is like a kilometer length, so the architect needs just to take those existing conditions and try just to imagine, to compute the opportunities that could be just to refashion like new use on this one. So, and it allowed him just to be able just to shorten the design cycle in order to take decisions on it. This is something very interesting as well, is this basic thing that we call the design review. We all been in many meeting rooms and people just are debating, architects and engineers and so on. This work would have been done with ACOM, and it's a very interesting new experience how people do. Generally, those like 1-hour meetings now are taking 15 to 20 minutes. We don't need chairs anymore. And people, it's weird when you get to the room and you see all those adults just playing with the fingers. But then when you start seeing what they have on screen, next video, please, you see the level of interaction and substantially the focus that we have just to go to the right set of problems or issues that need to be discussed and just mixing the expertise and just get to a consensus and a solution and get to the next problems and so on. So if the link doesn't work, it's okay. We could just skip and go to the next one, please. So as you see here, we've been just trying to project the use of this mixed reality through the different phases, starting from planning, early design, and getting to the design detailing and engineering, and just getting to the construction side. So this isn't getting too fast. Okay, whoa. Okay. Quality control, for example. We have different examples. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we brought this XR into factories to like prefab concrete and rebarbs production. We could just play the videos. And those people, when they are shaping those like components and subcomponents, they could just overlay what is supposed to be, especially when you have a complex rebarb design. And just to approve like intermediate steps and to give the go to the next, etc. and so on, before even shaping those into the side jobs. We've been working also on the nuclear project, which is almost organized chaos of rebarbs, or there's almost no space for concrete. And there's always critical steps, because there's a step where people are blind, where you have the molds and the counter mold, and there is like some overlay between design, and we work in like color coding processes just to understand if everything is as it should to be with the given tolerances. Another potential that is, there is way more to invent than what have been done is when we deliver the buildings and when objects become an asset. So we've been working with people like Brookfield and trying to see what second life those databases that have been produced during design and during construction could take. Okay, sorry, it's not that fluent as it should be, but it's okay. So, and it's very interesting to see what kind of second life these things need to take place. And then we could mobilize two types of information. We have the geometry that are vehicle, but we have substantially metadata that could be used within the geometry. And we develop use cases where we could just arrive, for example, in this space, and I could just have my helmet and say, okay, can you check the video projector, the jack, because that's why it doesn't work on my laptop, and just make a work order? Or can you check, the history of inspection of something like this? And the model become the building itself. Next, please. Sorry, this is the step in between, which is the construction. We need to build it first before getting to the physical asset. So here the use case is very simple, that you arrive on a side job and you could just accelerate to say, okay, what the side job will look like after 1 month, after 1 quarter. And you could just, during the installation and so on, see if these things have been made as planned, if there's any interaction that need to be done. So yeah, there's like a fantastic possibilities to consume the design model within the side jobs through these XR technologies. So we could just go to the last one. So this is what I was mentioning, that the building itself became the model, and because of the georeferencing, this column could host all the properties to understand how many megapascal, whatever. All this information could be embedded into it, and we could just dive in, and the building will be the host, will be the database itself. And we are working in connectivity with CAFM system and so on. As I said, there's much more maturity in design and construction as a whole when you talk about technology adoption. So this is probably the third wave of adoption for facilities management and operators. There's normally videos that should play after this one. So, as I say, this is like a technical component, but what you click in it, only with one finger, just could display technical specification, warranties, and so on. And the building could have like another fashion of approach, and because talking about performance, productivities, and just retrieve fundamental operation to understand how much costs on a yearly basis to get these assets particularly. So, and then Trimble is a very fascinating place because they are serving, as I said, many industries. I've been just recently multiple times in South Africa dealing with mining business, which have nothing to do with me trained as an architect. And it's quite sophisticated how a mining is operating today, way more than a construction job site. So those technology have also, limits between the indoor and outdoor. So there's a very great testimony about how the mining business is adopting also XR. So we could just play the next video, please.
The HoloLens uses gaze, gesture, and voice inputs. Your gaze, similar to your mouse, controls your cursor. Move your head around, and your cursor follows, centered in your field of view. Select a hologram by using gestures. The HoloLens sensors track specific movements of your hands, and by using the AirTap gesture, you can select particular areas inside the mine. With Trimble Connected Mine, your voice commands allow easy engagement with the mine holograms. Once you've targeted the hologram with your gaze, use the voice command Teleport, and you're immediately taken deep into the environment, seeing the mine at full scale. Safety concerns can make it difficult to allow people into the mine, but with HoloLens, you can move around the mine holographically.
So what you see here, there's like additional constraints comparing to like a classical construction site job, which is safeties and so on. And every single tracks have sensor, and you could be in London, and the mining is in South Africa, and you could see almost with a lag of a few seconds your live mine running. And if a track is not on the where it should be, there is like information, etc., and so on. So it's a full connectivity between peoples and machines as well for this case study. This is another adoption of those multi-reality for augmented reality this time, called Sight Vision. We could just play this video, please, where we pick up just like a regular tablet and we improve it with an antenna to have like a high accuracy for positioning. And this is mainly for civil work and when you are like outside. These HoloLens have some limitation. You don't go to a side job in Dubai when it's like, the sun, you cannot see the holographic. So this one is more adapted to like civil work and to be outside. It's okay if the video doesn't work. There's plenty of available materials on internet, on YouTube. So the way how we engage in this journey, it's not the technology itself, but what we're interested in is how this piece of technology could influence to re-engineer some concept, like progress checks and so on. That's more or less the first workshop that we are hosting with our clients, and then we define like a pilot and a project. And the goal is not just to leave it at the POC level as a proof of concept. The idea is just when we develop something, then we go in a more industrial approach and just we inject it into their current workflows. So this is where we are today. So with the same openness and agnostics, we are working with different hardware providers. Microsoft is one of them that we have a great relationship. That is, we are about to launch some new stuff that I'm going to show on the next slides. So we've been proud to also been recognized by the development teams for this award that have been given to Connect for HoloLens. There's many available information. I'm just going to give you like a website at the end for the last slide. A lot of cool things coming that have been announced recently. If you could just, next slide, please. So this is Ross Brigg, the VP in charge of the building portfolio in Barcelona, where Microsoft was hosting their annual conferences. And a new generation is about to be launched soon, probably next semester. So we learned for using this for about 3 to 4 years, so we know what works well, we know what need to be improved, and we addressing this on this new generation of Microsoft. This one is called XR10, that's how we name it. Next, please. So what you see here, this is what I call the construction continuum, where we try to address all those different stakeholders, the design community, the general contractor, the construction, the fabricators. We are talking both about on-site, off-site, the subcontractors, and there's many interesting workflows that have been developed specifically, either through guided assembly. There was an example with a client, we call it back to the fountain. So most of the people invest on building like a 3D shape of BIM models and so on, and then get the contractual obligation, the 2D documentation, but then they flatten all those effort and get back to like a classical way of documenting the buildings. So in this one, taking in consideration the accuracy that have been drastically improved from the first generation to the second one, so we have this prototype for partition wall installer, just getting just the HoloLens, getting straight to the model and trying to assemble pieces together. So we do believe that this one will improve this like paperless effort that we are all working on, just to eliminate and keep the focus and the time and the energy for the design instead of some really time-consuming task like the project documentation. Next, please. So I'm pretty sure that there is some enthusiasm, but probably there's even more skepticism with some of you. So let's just go to what potentially could be some resistance. So let's just walk through them one by one. So probably most of you say, okay, yeah, but it's difficult, so it's easy just to still go with mouses and keyboards. Let's go to another one. So probably people still, complaining about the accuracy and the precision of this technology. So probably most of you say, okay, yes, it's fantastic, but for everywhere except for me, because I have a current solid practice, and you guys are running businesses and so on. Many people say it's great for like demo and so on, but we are on a side job, and there is very drastic safety rules that we need to wear helmets and so on. This one is mainly personal. I don't know. So yeah, my own colleagues too that you saw probably he addressed this drastically over the last 20 years of what he's been cooking in. Okay, so what's drastically changed basically there was just mainly two movements. This is what the equivalent to the click with a mouse, and basically you turn your head and that's what the mouse direction. But today we could play with the 10 fingers instead of 1. So just it really changed the interaction and the experience to deal with. Number 2, we've been talking about also the ergonomy. So we learned as well because we could hold it for only like a few minutes. So we changed the design just to make it clear between the front and the back and ensure that it doesn't you don't fall down. So there is a lot of we work with ergonomies and so on to reshape this technology. 10 fingers interaction, the UI UX have been also reshaped. So next one, please. We're getting to the end. About the precision. So this new hardware, this is about to be launched. There is a new modern camera, new sensors. We could reach with autonomy to get a modular line with about 20 to 40 mil. And with some targeted view, we could almost reach the 10 millimeters, which is like a drastic improvement about the alignment. And you could see even in other industry, medicine, for example, that have very good adapters for mixed realities, education as well, and so on. So we are also learning from other types of adaptions. It's not fitting with the existing workflow, but this one you see it as an end product. We are working on something, we call it the one click. I'm a deep believer for something that drastically changed our daily life, which is the smartphone that we are holding. It's just like one button. Just put it side by side with the keyboard. I cannot even remind how many buttons is on a keyboard. So we do believe that to change it drastically, we need to get to this the simple way to get it. And this one is addressing the real life and everyday. It doesn't address only Trimble format or Trimble software, so there's other vendors and so on, because that's what every single project is made out. Multiple technology, multiple softwares, need to be combined together. I just can make this comparison to music. Nobody talk to musicians and tell them use only guitars to make it or whatever. So that's what the building will be and should be and is going to be. It's always like a multiplicity of technologies that need to be combined all together. For those of you who've experienced before, you know that you need to log in. So if your name is Bob, it's okay. It's just 3 letters. But if you have a longer name, it's just like a really, you get already sick before even you type in login and password. This one have Iris that is SSO for all the login. You could just enjoy all the technology all together just with the Iris authentication. And the last one is about safety. So we are working with personal protective manufacturing standards just to ensure working in different regions of the globe, EU, US, and elsewhere, just to ensure that this one will be fully compliant with the regulation. We are also working, most of the people sometimes, those tablet things are really great, but for those who are spending time on a side job, so when you are outside, first of all, you need hands. You cannot just get them only on a tablet. So it's like in a free hands. We work also on the that you make just like a Skype call, and someone, even if he's remote, he could check through your eyes what's going on in order to get like a decision and so on. So there's a lot of improvement that have been happening over here. So this is more or less where we came from and where we are going. So thank you for your attention, and sorry if there was no fluency between slides.